Hey, welcome back, y'all. Today we are with Bud, and joining us is Brettyn. Brettyn passed her private pilot check ride a little bit ago, and she's now on to her instrument training. And we're going to learn a little bit about her and what got her into aviation, and talk about her first flight, and then talk about that fateful day on her private pilot check ride exam, and see how that went. And then we'll see how her future looks, how she's feeling about it. So, Brettyn, thanks for joining us.
Of course, I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so I get a chance to work with Brettyn a lot. Now, since you've started, so let's go back to the check ride. I remember when you were amping up, you were getting ready, and you were kind of all over the place, and then you went, I knew you were going to crush it, and then you went in. So tell me, can you think of that day, because you probably had emotions going all over the place, because that's a long day. I mean, it's scary, that check ride day. I mean, you get through the oral, and you're like, I'm only halfway home. I mean, you ain't even got there yet. So tell me about that day and how it felt.
So I woke up that day, I was just sick to my stomach all day, just so nervous. And I started stressing myself out, but the second I got into that check ride room, talking to my DP, it was all confidence. I was like, I got this. This is easy. This is what I do every day at school. I'm prepared for this. So once I started, getting my confidence, I started acting like I was the instructor in the check ride, which is kind of, I don't know how DPs would go about that, but I just kind of took over, and I stood up by the whiteboard. I acted like an instructor, trying to show him that I do know what I'm talking about. And eventually the emotions just went away. I was like, this is another day in aviation. So.
And it's funny that she talks about that, because part of the training program that we put together for the school is in phase 3, you start teaching, and you teach the rest of the class. And while the CFIs grade you on your knowledge of the subject area, and you excelled at that. So it's funny that you took exactly what we're talking about, and that is all in preparation, oddly enough, to get you to that CFI level. Because as we've talked about before, and you and I know this, that when you talk about first failure rate for the CFI nationally, dude, that's 90%, bro. Yeah. 90% is a lot. It's because most programs don't allow students to get up in front and teach. And part of that is, I'm going to tell you, I've done this for a living for a long time. The first time it comes out of your head, it sounds weird. So you don't want that first time to be in front of a DPE. It's good so it's in front of a class and your CFI, so they can construct that message and make sure it's targeted. So when you get to the DPE, as we talk about, you want to talk like you're putting together a social media post. We don't need a lot of words. Let's get to the answer and let's be quiet. Yeah. We don't want to talk ourselves in any holes. So you've done it. I mean, it's amazing that she took exactly what way we constructed this program and did exactly what we said to it, and it worked.
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna find it a lot easier being a CFI if you've already been kind of teaching like that. And I'm sure the DP loved it if you just took control and showed him all the knowledge that you had. Yeah. So was there, as far as pilot qualifications went, did you just start going through all the lists? And did they cut you off? Did they tell you, okay, let's move on to the next thing? How did that go?
So he did start with a scenario right off the bat. He's like, you wake up and you're drinking coffee. Tell me how, what goes through your head before your flights. And immediately I knew he was talking about PAVE, because that's what we're trained to start with. Every day our pre-flight starts with PAVE. So I stood the whole check ride. I did not sit down a single time throughout my check ride. And I just started writing out PAVE on the board.
If you don't know by chance, PAVE is an acronym we use here, and under PAVE we put under each letter several other acronyms, because if there's one thing we need in aviation is an acronym. And so we try to put them all under not all, but a large portion of under PAVE, so that we have everything checked off and we are certain that we have the best outcome potential for this flight before we embark on it. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
You may not have known that.
Yeah. And so it started with that. I wrote out PAVE. I went through everything that a pilot needs, the aircraft, what has to do with the environment, and then external pressures. So just meaning, do I feel pressure doing this ride? Which maybe it is a check ride, but that is what I started with for pilot qualifications. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Nice. And then as far as airworthiness went, the next task in the ACS, did you start going through your acronyms as far as making sure that the aircraft was airworthy to go fly on your flight later on with the DP?
So I did, yes. I went through Aviate, AeroPec, all those, just making sure, going through all of those, making sure that he knew what I was talking about, the regulations that went along with those. He never stopped me throughout that. I nailed that one on the head. So, yeah.
And he started out with that first scenario-based training question with the coffee in the morning.
Yes,
Was there
yes.
any other scenario-based questions he asked throughout?
So, yeah, one that did kind of trick me because it's just something you don't really think about often is we are in the Bahamas, and I have a friend who was just scuba diving. So, obviously, pressurized cabins and all that was brought up. So, it did take me a second. I didn't have to look it up. I just had to sit there and think about it for a second. And he was very kind and said, take your time. So, yeah,
That's
about
cool.
it.
Yep, and you'd read that advisory circular before. You just had to think back through it
for
to,
sure.
to see where we were at. I want to touch back on a question from what you talked about earlier. You were talking about you took over and you kind of took control of that situation right in front of the DPE, and I think what I think you're saying, and I think what I'm picking up for that is you read the room.
Yeah.
You knew what you felt that was time and that was the right thing to do. And I think a large portion of that is just human to human interaction. Don't forget that with the DPE, because with the DPE shortage going on nationally, they kind of sometimes feel like robots. And one of the things that Brettyn is phenomenal at makes everyone in the room feel like they're super important. So she's either going to be a phenomenal pilot or a wonderful politician, and we're not sure which. I'm hoping for the former.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, it's just like I go into there and I was just like, he's just another person, you know, like he lives this life. He went through aviation. Like, he's going to understand. So I was like, I've always been raised to take initiative. So not in a cocky way, but like, let's show him what I got.
Yeah.
Let's show off my knowledge. And especially being a female in aviation, I just want to show off, like, I got this too. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you got it, flaunt it. That's what I say.
Yeah.
It is not bragging if you could back it up.
Yeah.
That's where I come from.
Yeah.
Now, was there any more remarkable moments during your check ride, or maybe the debrief notes that were things that you wish you had prepared for a little bit more?
So I felt pretty prepared
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing. In my flight, I did experience something I've never experienced before. Is our airspace was super busy during my check ride, and they wouldn't allow me back in.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
I
tough.
had that happen one
That's
time.
tough.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
how much fuel we got?
Yeah, so-
Where I'm gonna go? I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
Savannah. Oh, you don't tell me I'm gonna be. I might show up in LA.
And I just kind of, I played it cool. I was like, yeah, this is fine. We'll circle outside the airspace, wait for clearance to be entered in,
Yeah,
and
there we go. Okay.
just kind of played it off. Didn't show any fear in my eyes
Yeah.
or any expressions. So, yeah.
Never
That's
let them
awesome.
see you sweat.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
Listen,
know.
that's it in a nutshell. You're one-to-one with a human, and we talk about this in my office all the time with students. And you do this for a living. You get into a cockpit with a captain, and you're 4 inches from this person. You're telling me you're not sizing this person up? You're smelling? Make sure ain't nobody got nothing. I mean, you got to size everything up, because that person could be between you and saving your life. So it's important. And what I say when they go in the DPE room is this person does this for a living. So you
Yeah.
don't walk in and try to hide that you're nervous. They know you're nervous.
Yeah.
Just be you and win them over like Brettyn did. I mean, she controlled that situation from the beginning to the end. She didn't realize it. And that's what they want. They don't want this to be a struggle. And would you agree, because I say this to every student, and I've never had anyone debunk this. Don't you feel like when you go in that room, and you've been through several of them, don't you feel like that they want you to pass? Like, they really want to help you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like he was trying to sabotage me, or I hope no DP or no student ever feels like they're
Yeah.
trying to be sabotaged, because they want you to succeed,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So do that if you're going in, if you have a check ride coming.
Yep.
I mean, they want you to pass. I've never run into any of, and every time I spend time with a current DPE, they are solid, and they're just good people.
Yep. Now, I'm sure that morning of the check ride, feeling so sick, you probably were regretting your decision to start doing aviation at all. So let's go back to what inspired you that first time to get into aviation, and then your first flight, your discovery flight, or where was that, and what made that love for you to go, I'm going to do this no matter how sick I feel the morning of a check ride.
For sure. So my brother-in-law is a pilot, and he was always chirping in my ear, like, do it. You'll never regret it. You'll love it. And I'm such an adrenaline junkie. So, like, I did fall in love with it the second that I did take my discovery flight. I've never been in a small aircraft before. And I was like, this is pretty awesome. I can see like myself doing this the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And then going back to like my first solo, like immediately got out of the plane, started crying.
Wow.
Like, I love this so much.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. And I knew this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
See, now, girl, when I did my first solo, there was nobody beside me to talk to, so I was by myself. I had nobody to talk to. You got imaginary friends? I didn't have no friends. It was boring. I want to talk to somebody. I'm a people person. What about you? You fly, talk to somebody?
I like listening to music sometimes and just relaxing, you know. and
Great,
just,
now
you
I
know.
feel safe. I flew with this man this morning. I didn't know he was rocking out to Van Halen's greatest hits. I'm over here having a conversation with myself. It ain't fair, Brettyn. It ain't fair. I ain't flying with you. You won't talk to me.
Well, that's all I have for Brettyn. Do you have any other questions, bud?
No, thank you for all you're doing. So how's that instrument? I know we're just barely in the process. How's that coming, though? You're crushing it?
I love instrument. It is new. It's something. It makes you feel like you're on the right path, because that's what they do at the airlines.
Yeah.
Instrument approaches, instrument procedures, departure procedures, all of that. It's starting to make me feel like this is really happening. This is because in private you are learning the basics. You're learning what you need. And in instrument, it's like this is what you're gonna do forever, and
Yeah.
you can either love it or hate it. And I think that instrument is very much a decision if you want to continue what you're doing or not.
Yeah.
And I love it. So.
I can describe these for you. I've summed this up, what I think brilliantly, the difference between, your standard VFR and your IFR. And it's pretty simple. This is VFR. Y'all see anything? This is IFR. I ain't seen nothing in a week.
Yep.
Pretty close, right?
Pretty
Not far
close.
off.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's
close.
pretty much it.
The great thing about IFR when you're doing instrument flight is the only one who sees where you're going or where you've been is the CFI. You hadn't seen nothing in an hour.
Yeah.
That's great.
And on Sunday, I took my long IFR cross country, and I actually got to log IMC time for the first time. So that was
That's
pretty
sweet.
awesome.
How cool is
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is fun flying through that first cloud.
We
Yeah.
flew to Carlsbad, California, and I've never
Sweet.
been to California, so it was pretty awesome.
Carlsbad's a cool airport.
Yeah, it is.
You know the thing about Carlsbad is if I'm looking for clouds, I think they start in Carlsbad and they just go out from there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the epicenter of all cloud genesis is happening right there.
Made in Carlsbad.
Yeah, they're stamped right when they come out. Made in Carlsbad. It's awesome. That's cool. Congratulations. This is so
Thank
exciting
you.
for you. I love watching this journey with you, and we'll talk to you again right before you get into commercial.
Yep.
I want to talk to you about how cool Instrument was and about how holding out common carriage, how you get paid and the government gets paid, and we'll talk about turbochargers and superchargers, but I don't want to get to it.
Sweet.
Yeah, thanks for
Awesome.
joining us, and good
course.
luck in your training.
Thank you.